Welcome back. If you're in your car, if you're out at the supermarket, if you're on a road trip across the country, if you're in our hearts, if you're across the stars, wherever you might be, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this week's episode of the IIV League Podcast. We're here with Baron. Baron, your last name is?
Ryan.
That's too, well, whenever we first met, I was confused.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's Ryan.
Yeah.
Baron. No, Baron Ryan.
Baron Ryan.
I really wish I had a kind of a normal name like Mike.
No, I know, because you're a writer, and writers have to have like good names, like Paige Turner.
Okay, in theory, but every time you go to Starbucks, it's Baron, like Red Baron Pizza. That's all. That's my name now.
Which again, I would think you can just say Red Baron, like Red Baron, and people would be like, "Oh, the fighter pilot from the Snoopy movie."
Nah,
Specifically from the Snoopy movie.
Yes. Oh yeah, actually, that's quite a long intro. Red Baron from the Snoopy movie, you know.
As opposed to Red Baron Pizza, sure.
And they're like, "Sir, what's your name?"
Yeah. Like, so this is the Wendy's. We're here with Baron Ryan today. Baron is a writer and also very TikTok famous. Makes some of my favorite content I've ever seen. You do such a good job of telling stories with your content. Like we almost collaborated one time, and I said we should collaborate. And I'm like, hey, like you write something for my characters, I'll write something for yours. And then like within 5 minutes, he sent a script back. I panicked and just like deleted my phone number entirely.
Yeah,
I'm like, he's really good.
Yeah, you wanted to collab, and I used that opportunity to create a very raunchy sketch for some reason because I knew I wasn't going to be posting it. And I'm like, oh, someone else is going to get the heat for this. Let's
really
do this.
I'm like, this is good and also really edgy. I don't know how to say no or how to say can we tweak a thing. And it's because we both have conservative upbringings and like to follow rules, which we'll talk about in this podcast. But first, ladies and gentlemen, this week it's Sam's week to make the intro, and he did it way before it was due.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so long before it was
10
due.
minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes. So I'm excited to hear how this one, what this one sounds like. I have not heard it yet. This is a first time for everybody. And here's the intro. Should I be scared?
Why?
It don't matter. You're right. That's actually pretty great. And you know what I just you know what I remember too? I'm like, oh wait, Sam's a DJ.
Okay.
Sam's a DJ.
Yeah.
Introductions. Let's just back to the introductions. I'm Lonnie. My name's Lonnie IIV. I do social media. I have a degree in human factor psychology, and I also have my master's in business administration.
I'm Sam. I'm an aerospace engineer. I have my degree in aerospace engineering.
What do you have a minor in? That I just found out today that he has a minor in.
Astronomy and astrophysics.
Which again sounds so smart. Like, what's the coursework for that?
Hard. A lot of math.
Well, I'm Baron Ryan. I was homeschooled. I studied psychology. I didn't finish because TikTok took off.
And you graduated in TikTok, baby.
I did.
That's fantastic. What was your GPA at the time?
I think it was 3.7 or something.
Out of 6 or?
Out of what?
Every week, whenever someone says their GPA, I'm like, oh, out of like 10.
Wow.
And they're like, no.
They do say 5 out of 4 people struggle in math.
No, I'm one of them.
True. Wait, question.
Yeah, hell wait. That's what, I was like, wait.
Okay.
Both of them are me.
So about the homeschooling thing.
Yes.
Was it like throughout elementary too?
Yeah, elementary through college, basically. Well, up to college.
So then what do you do for recess?
You watch VHS tapes. My parents didn't allow TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no cable TV.
You
no
weren't allowed to
Nickelodeon.
watch TV?
No.
Like,
So it was all just VHS tapes. Whatever they procured, you could watch. So it was usually classic movies, but a lot of times they had no filters when it came to like R-rated movies. Like they were fine with violent movies. They were like, yeah, it's fine. Let's just watch it. So,
but you couldn't watch cable TV.
no cable TV. No, especially not Nickelodeon. I don't know why that was
interesting.
Dude, who else was just saying? Was that Jennings who wasn't allowed to watch Nickelodeon?
Maybe.
My mom wouldn't let me watch SpongeBob because she said SpongeBob was a low-achieving sponge.
What? As opposed to a high-achieving sponge.
I think he just she heard probably like an advertisement one time when it's like SpongeBob, your favorite low-achieving sponge. She's like, there it is. I knew I didn't like
Okay,
it.
Talk with her.
I knew I didn't like
all right,
it.
well, my dad didn't allow us to watch Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so he thought, interesting theory. He thought that he didn't want us to grow up thinking that if you took care and if you gave enough love to an abusive lover, they're going to finally turn into this prince. Like you can change them. He didn't want us to grow up thinking
progressive and
that.
healthy,
right? He's ahead of his time.
Yeah, where are you from?
Missouri.
Okay. Midwest.
If you ever seen Ozark, that's where I'm from.
I have not seen Ozark.
Okay, well, I lived in...
Judgment I felt in that one.
Yeah.
No, I lived in like Branson. So Branson is, you know where Branson is?
No.
Silver City? Okay, yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, good. So, same. No, it's the sort of family-friendly Las Vegas without the gambling.
I was about to say, how do you make Las Vegas family friendly? I feel like it's the opposite.
I love Vegas.
Well, you'd love Branson. No, it was very strange because Branson is one of those towns where the singing stars who were really famous in the 60s, 70s, and they come to Branson, start a theater, and because they're old, all their audiences are also old, and they kind of die there. That's where they live out the rest of their career. And so we had Andy Williams, Tony
most
Orlando.
wonderful time of the year.
Ain't that truth?
That is the song he wrote. I was gonna say, was that not his song? That's the song. It's the most wonderful.
Yeah. Now there's no more. Now there's no more old celebrities. They all died. Actually,
Well, that makes sense. That happens. Did they have? How were Christmases out there?
Oh, it's huge. It's Christmas town out there. They really these small towns where everyone knows everyone really can do Christmas right. It's like a huge event.
Here's a question for you too.
Yes.
Do you prefer the holiday of Christmas or Halloween?
Halloween's my birthday.
Wait, really?
It is. Yeah.
It's also one of my best friend's birthdays.
Oh, wow.
Wait.
Well, I prefer my birthday over Jesus's.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What a fair
Comparison right there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where that. If I had to pick, I mean,
I also prefer my birthday over anyone else's, really, to be honest.
regardless of their religious deityship, I do still prefer my own birthday. Do you guys celebrate your birthdays really big? Do you?
Not anymore. I'm not a big
What?
birthday. Yeah, I try to downplay it. Like it
Why?
didn't, like it never happened. I don't know. I don't like birthdays anymore. It's just this
What happened?
celebration that you're dying to me. Yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
And when did you realize that, huh?
Oh,
When did I realize I was dying? I don't know. I think it was a cartoon. It wasn't Bambi, like the famous one.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I realized on the toilet. I realized that.
how old were you?
I think it was about 5.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
early.
Oh my God, how old were you when you realized like death happens?
Probably like 12, 14.
Oh, lucky. Nice. I think I was 7. No, I was in a car seat in a parking lot of Chuck E. Cheese with my grandma. And she's like, why are you crying? I'm like, because everybody dies. And she's like, I don't know what you want me to do here. Like, well, I don't know. She like called my parents. I was kicking and screaming and crying. I'm like, I don't want to die. And now I'm not even scared of dying anymore. So
I saw this. I was watching this interview on while I was eating my very crappy cereal this morning. It was this divorce lawyer talking about his opinion on marriage.
Yeah.
It's this really good video. You guys got to watch it. But there's this one line that I just keep remembering. He's like, "What? Would you? Why would you timidly live your whole life and then gently and safely arrive at death? Why would you gently arrive at death? Like it's just such a I don't know."
Helen Keller said,
What did she say?
I don't think she said anything.
well, somebody wrote down apparently, you know what? If you were like just hanging out with Helen Keller, it's like, guess what she said to me the other day? Like, and people be like, it's like, you wouldn't get it. Me and her, we have our own thing.
She say?
She said something. You can attribute anything you want to ever to Helen Keller saying it, and people are like, either like, oh, that's so sweet, because they're like, I'm going to go ahead and believe that she could, and she did. Or they'll be like, I don't believe anything that chick said. Like, she couldn't have. How could she? Junzi has actually taken on a whole thing of like Helen Keller's like skepticism, and I'm starting to wonder now if that's healthy. Because I'm honestly, I'm like, should we really? What was the technology back then? Like, do we know for sure, or were we just like say like that's probably what she said? Like her like. I don't know if it'd be whoever was like helping her, like learning and teaching her, were like, this is what she's trying to say. And it was just kind of like puppeteering for Helen Keller.
Oh, God.
Like.
Was she a celebrity back then? Like, was
Helen
she famous back in the day, or was she after death
Your phone.
celebrity?
Can you look it up? Can you find out when Helen Keller rose to fame? When was it? Yeah. Were people like, oh, that's where Helen Keller lives as they drove by in the horse and
It's
buggies?
going to be a Watch Mojo video.
What year did she die?
Die?
First. Like, what year did Helen Keller die? This will come back. I can loop this back around because this will tie into writing, which is
1968.
68.
That soon?
What? 68.
That's when she died?
So she was around when the Beatles came to America. And she had no idea.
Yeah, of all the things, like a band. That 69. My mom was born in 1969. Anne Frank. What year did she die? It doesn't matter.
Not 69.
No, it was just off to a running start here.
Why does Helen Keller get all the jokes? Why?
No, because she was
blind, deaf, and mute. That's a big bag to carry.
That is a very large weight to carry, and I feel like accessibility talk wasn't around back in the 70s to really defend her. And
it says she was famous from the age of 8 until her death.
Really? Like Shirley Temple.
Sure.
How did Shirley Temple die young?
No.
She recently died, right?
I think so. Yeah, she was I think she was a representative of the UN.
Oh.
Yeah, Nixon put her in there to represent the US in the UN meetings. It's kind of the most American thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And I understand the reputation we have. Before we dive down in the rabbit hole of conspiracies, relationships, and media, I do want to give you the adequate time to express and talk about, because what you do is very unique. You were around whenever we met at like the start of TikTok, kind of, right? Like, do people even remember Musically? Even like we weren't on it.
No.
Also, guys, if you're watching this, I just remembered. Oh, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. I just remembered. Kai that's our friend Kai. If you're if you're listening, you might hear occasional shuffling in the background or something. Kai's just in the back, like making breakfast for everybody. If we have to end the podcast abruptly, it's because he's caught something on fire and we are all in trouble. Kai is starting to be a physicist, so just more smart people. All the math people ganging up on us, poor,
yes, sir.
All the STEM people.
Master race.
Maybe we should marginalize STEM majors.
Yeah, we'll punch up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be punching up anytime soon with the whole ChatGPT thing. Aren't they predicting artists are now going to be the head honchos?
Well, I feel like ChatGPT could really replace artists as well. Kind of like AI, whatever. We talk about AI. We can write something this week. But anyways, if you hear something in the background, it's just Kai, and he made us breakfast. So
thanks, Kai.
He didn't make me breakfast.
He didn't make Baron breakfast. He specifically said, Baron,
I asked.
You're a liberal arts major. Like, you study psychology and you write. He's like, learn quantum physics, nerd.
Yeah.
You dirty non-STEM major.
Yeah.
I asked for a pancake and he said, maybe if you worked harder.
He said, what's 2 + 2? And Baron started sweating. And then
I said fish.
Yeah. He said, no, what is 2 + 2? And so it just got lost in translation
Then
there.
Kai told him to pull himself up by his bootstraps and stop complaining.
Hey, look down. If you can see, Baron doesn't have any boots. He's got socks on. We all just have socks on. You can see if you're watching the video. That's why you got to watch on YouTube. Sam is wearing his dirty shoes in my house.
Yes, sir.
All right, back to
assert
Baron.
my dominance as the STEM major.
Give me my iPad. I have all my questions for Baron on there. We're doing this Oprah Winfrey style. And my goal is to make you cry, like Oprah makes people cry.
I didn't realize how wild Oprah was back in like the 80s.
You mean wild?
She would go in the audience. She would bring in neo-Nazis on stage, and she would have the audience ask them questions.
Really?
I always thought Oprah was just kind of
just kind of sitting.
Yeah, just kind of
an
an interesting interviewer.
That's crazy. So
No, she was active. She would go in the audience. She would say, "What about you? What about you? What do you think?"
And what
It
do
was
you
insane.
think? Yeah. That's kind of cool.
So when are you going to bring neo-Nazis on?
I should go talk. I've honestly wanted to get my neighbors on here. I don't know if they're neo-Nazis. I doubt it. We live in Los Angeles. And I want to kind of just interview them, be like, hey, we need a fourth person for the podcast. What are you doing for the next hour? And they're like, I have a job. And I'm like, what are you doing for the next hour?
That doesn't answer the question.
Yeah, honestly. Okay. Yeah, you've inspired me. The next episode, I'm going to bring you're going to see another person on, and they're like, who's that? I'm like, it's Craig from across the street. My first time talking to him. He's super down, So. I've come up with a few questions here. Okay, so Baron, writer, this is what you do. How many followers across platforms, by the way? Because again, when we interview people on here, I like to talk to very smart people. And when it comes to writing and understanding, like I think your audience, your craft, you're brilliant at this stuff. So like your passion, you would say, is writing, correct?
I mean, most time goes into the writing. It's weird to call myself a creator because I'm more like writing TikToks.
Yeah.
And then the rest takes...
But like, yeah, you write stuff. Have you ever seen Baron stuff?
I have not.
How dare you?
STEM majors, bro. STEM majors. Which I also kind of like that you have no context for any of this, so you get to fill the shoes of the audience. You get to ask the question that the audience would have because you are the audience.
Okay.
Baron, with your stuff, I know you say writing, and I know who's actually one of the most famous people who've interacted with your stuff that you've seen.
Interacted with my stuff?
That's like really stood out to you.
I have no idea what I would say to a celebrity I liked. I don't know. What would you say to them? I like your work.
I actually have a book. What would you say?
I was just gonna say say Beyonce just hits you in the DMs right now. Like, hey,
he's like, yeah, I'm working on stuff.
I have no idea.
I'm working on stuff, B. Jesus. Don't you have a tour to be doing or something right now?
I don't know. Like, what do you just chat them up? What do you say
So in my experience, I actually have a book because psychology is my thing, like studying people, learning how to interact with people. And it's this one book called 92 Tricks to Talk to Anyone, which, the way I look at my life, I'm like, I played Fallout New Vegas and you have your skill trees, right? And I'm like, I want to maximize charisma. I want to make charisma 10 out of 10 and then read a book that makes it +2. So it's 12 out of 10. That's math. I just did that in here. But anyways, the book says like, yo, if you see a celebrity, you should walk up. Like if you want to say hi, just say, hey, I really like, you want to mention their recent work. Because if you mention their older work, they're like, oh, I'm a washed up has-been. But if you say, hey, your newest thing you just did really impacted me in this way. Thank you for doing that, And if they're with somebody, you should also like compliment the people they're with. That way it doesn't come across as if you're just like clout chasing or whatever. But like,
so basically you got to research what they did most recently before you approach them.
Not necessarily, just like, why do you like them? And if you know something that they've done recently, then like it's good to mention
I like them for the old stuff.
Exactly.
You like them for the best stuff.
Honestly,
I don't know.
Humble them. Just say, hey, babe, I love your song that you wrote 10 years ago. Your new stuff,
everything you
awful.
own. Yeah, Renaissance, cuff it. What are you doing?
Yeah, cuff it more like throw it out in the trash.
Yeah, cuff it to back of a car and drag it around a city in the South. That's dark. That was really dark.
I made the mistake of over complimenting someone's work. Like their most recent work to where they feel so bad about everything they've ever done since then. Because I'm like, dude, it's so good. It's just amazing. And everything you've done before this is just trash compared to this. And it's they start feeling, no. But,
I'm about to say, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, dude. I'm like, yeah, no, temperate. like legit. So I met the lead singer of Fall Out Boy. Like I like punk rock music. Pete, I guess he's just the bassist. But Pete Wentz. And I met him at Spider-Verse, like the Spider-Verse premiere. And I walked up and I was like, it took me like 3-4 tries to do it. Like I don't usually get nervous, but then like pretty people and celebrities, I'm just like, I'm shy. But I find like the fourth time, I'm like, I'm just gonna say hi, thank you, and then walk away. And so I went up, I was like, hey, you're Pete Wentz, right? He's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like the Disney Channel applause should have happened, whenever the celebrity walked on. He like turned around, and was like, yeah, I am. I was like, woo! But I'm like, dude, I just want to say thank you. Like, I love your recent like project, the newest album. It felt like a nice like conglomeration of everything you guys have worked on. I really, really enjoyed it. And he's like, oh, thanks so much. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And then the book also says like, you can get a sense for when people are done talking. Like if they want to talk about it more, that's great. Let them. But if they're kind of like, go away, you're done. Cut it. And so I kind of got the sense of like that. I'm like, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. I shook his hand, and he's like, thanks so much. What was your name, Lonnie? I'm like, yeah, it is. Don't forget it. And then I walked away. But then I saw him passing in the hallway later. He's like, oh, Lonnie, and like patted me on the back. And I texted all my friends immediately after. Like, he's touched my back. But like, you're supposed to just say hi, thank them for something they've done, and then like read the room and like kind of space out. Like you're not going to probably be friends with them. Because,
to be specific, I'd imagine. Because my dad had a weird interaction with Conway Twitty, this country, famous country singer. Right?
Conway!
Yeah, he walks into his office. I don't know what he was doing in his office, but Conway Twitty's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, I'm Conway Twitty, and all I do is sing. And
that's just, Your dad walked into Conway Twitty's office.
Yeah.
What does your dad do?
I think he was a lawyer.
Okay.
And I think he was, I don't know, I think he was buying his RV or something. But,
Conway Twitty was just in character.
Yeah.
My dad's trying to he's trying to ham Conway up. He's like, oh, I'm such a fan of your work. I love your stuff. He's never heard anything. And Conway goes, oh, yeah? Which one's your favorite song?
That happened to me.
Yeah. What happened?
That same exact interaction.
How did it end?
With Conway Twitty. No. I don't remember who it was, but I met some like celebrity person, whatever, at some sort of like party in LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love your work. And I just have seen their face around. I didn't actually know what they do, and I was like, I was just trying to be nice because they were the one that like kind of started this conversation. Because I think we were like at a drink station, like we were just like in the same area, and it was kind of awkward to be quiet. I don't know. I was like, oh my gosh, like yeah, I love all the stuff that you do. It's so great. And they're like, oh yeah, like what? And I was like, all right, you got me. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what you do.
Who are you? I don't even know your name. You just started talking to me, and I wanted to be sweet. Everybody else seemed like they were paying attention to you, and I just didn't want to make you feel bad.
But they thought it was funny. They were like,
oh, you legit just said?
I said that, yeah. I was like, okay, you got me. I don't know what you do. What do you want me to say? I don't know.
That's crazy. And you don't remember who it was?
I don't remember who it was.
That's even worse.
Yeah, honestly, to go the honest route's probably refreshing. Now they have a story to tell.
Exactly.
Honestly,
and feel terrible, but they can go feel terrible. It's fine.
It's supposed to be about Baron, Sam. Stop talking
Yeah,
about
bring
it.
this back to
I'm
me.
sorry.
Yeah, we only have him for... Well, he doesn't know that these things go for 3 hours, so we have him for the rest. He said, because I do, I mean, honestly, because I do want to get into some other stuff, but I also definitely want to let you have a chance to talk about everything you do, because you said you're a writer, but the thing I love about your stuff is that also, like, the cinematography, I guess, comes from growing up in the Midwest, watching all the VHS, like, content and stuff like that. Like,
the only way I can describe it is you sort of create sort of a form of grammar around it. You just watch so many movies. At a certain point, you just... it comes a bit naturally.
You're a movie buff.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
I have seen about 7 films, and all of them are Disney. So I can't consider myself much of a movie buff. Like I don't feel like I know too many films, but it obviously comes through in like your work. Are there certain directors or like producers that you very much like are able to pull from or anything, or that you usually pull from?
You know, I've always been a fan of the Coen brothers. They made Fargo, No Country for Old Men.
Oh, I've heard of these movies.
You know, it
Not
just
seen them.
No,
I've not heard of them.
They are Disney actually. No.
Oh
wow.
Oh my god! I gotta.
Yeah.
I gotta watch these tonight.
You're dropping the ball here.
Like, oh my god! I gotta add those to my list.
Old Country for No Men has that Disney laugh track actually.
Even better.
I think I've seen the monologue from the guy. Like, was Joaquin Phoenix in there?
Shigur.
I think so.
Shigur. He was the Javier Bardem.
Long hair.
Yeah. Like the long little Debbie hair. Yeah.
I've seen the monologue.
How much have you lost on a coin
I was just
toss?
scared of seeing people get stabbed. I think
No one gets stabbed.
Oh.
Yeah. They get shot with a cow thingy, like with one of those cow prodders. Yeah. So better, but
Okay.
Wouldn't that still count as a stabbing of sorts?
no, they wanted to go for a PG-13 rating, so they said no, stabbing, no, but
Isn't it
cow
rated
prodder
R?
to the brain.
No Country for Old Men is rated R, isn't it?
No, PG-13. I think PG.
Oh,
There's no way No Country for Old Men is rated PG. Fact check with post haste.
You're just gonna go to imright.com. Just
Yeah. It's like, look what was here. Another question I have for you then, to kind of tap into the world of like cinema and writing that you so strongly like. I feel like in some ways, like I saw Casey Neistat commented on one of your videos you made.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That was a big one, a big moment.
Yeah. What's been your favorite work you've done so far? Oh, hold on.
it's rated R.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No Country for Old Men. Can you show the camera?
Dude, these STEM majors, they don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, I do have to stand in solidarity with my fellow arts major.
The second highest question is No Country for Old Men disturbing?
No.
And then it talks about...
When did you watch this film?
It's kind of a feel-good movie, to be honest.
Okay, I see what's happening. I see what's happening here. So parents, take your kids to go see No Country for Old Men if you haven't. What's the moral of the story? Like, without giving too many spoilers.
Of No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
That the country's for young men. Yeah.
That's so true.
It's a story about the U.S. Social Security system.
And how it's built for young men.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so Walt Disney. He would so do something like that.
Right.
I want to see this film, the Disney version of No Country for Old Men.
What was the question?
It doesn't even matter anymore. The next question I have for you is like, I feel like is like in the world that TikTok has such a wide range of content. You have the people who are doing pranks. You have the people who are doing like fashion. And again, you've said you're more of a writer, which when I make my content, I don't feel like I'm a writer ever. I feel like I'm just someone who catches a moment and does something stupid with it, or like, here's a pun. With you being a writer, what do you feel like something you understand about writing that most other people don't understand or don't know or don't realize?
Oh, I have no idea about writing. I don't know how to write anything. I don't. Like Paul McCartney famously said, I don't know how to write any songs. I think I feel the same way. I don't know how to write books. I don't know how to write scripts or anything. There's no formula, really.
It's like the biggest writer answer I've ever heard.
I mean,
I'm considering abandoning the arts major. I'm really thinking about jumping ship on the arts majors. I'm going back to my business world with all my business friends who talk numbers and spreadsheets.
I'll give you something.
I mean, they might say the same thing too.
They're like, I can't. Actually, you're right.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know how to do business.
Yeah, they're like, we just daddy's money, and so go ahead.
Okay, I'll give you one thing though.
Yeah.
So when I was starting off, I was always writing short stories before TikTok, before all of this. And I had this sort of precious artist brain where I thought no one understood my work. And I would take months writing on one short story. And that perfectionist urge is insecurity disguised as perfectionism. And I think what I've learned with TikTok is that it requires volume and it requires quantity as opposed to quality at first.
Yeah.
Quantity over quality at first, and then you go quality at a certain point.
Isn't that the journey of most people who are experts in kind of anything? Like, you have to get the hours and the time in. And I feel like TikTok kind of trains you, like, it's kind of a numbers game at the start, and later on down the line, you should develop a craft, or you're craft enough to be able to be like, have a little bit more sense of, you know, like, I understand this a little bit more than I did at the start.
Well, generally, that's not the urge when you want to go into the arts. Artists want to be, they want to make good work. Yeah. And they want it to be perfect.
And this is where my business mind comes in, because I'm like minimum viable product, fastest path to cash. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you can get $1 in return, that is what you start with, and then you build off that. Yeah. Which honestly has been so helpful. I talk about being a business major a lot, but I'm like, honestly, mixing that with art helps, because you realize, like, you do have to do a lot of things before you even realize, because there's a lot of people want to put out one big thing and be like, this is it, this is me. If I do this one thing right, I'm great. And if it's rejected, I'm a piece of trash. And it's like, no, you're trash, but it's not because of this one thing you did. Or like,
it's because of who you are as a whole.
Exactly. And that the artwork you do isn't going to change that. So just no. But legitimately realizing like the quantity.
It's about quantity. I mean, honestly, if you have the artistic urge, I think your insecurity is actually going to make it okay. It's going to make it decent. So if you just make if you force yourself to make a bunch of content, quantity over quality, it's actually going to turn out decent, because you're already a perfectionist, and that insecurity is going to make it actually pretty decent.
Okay. We had Liv Pearsall on here a few episodes ago, and she said something similar. She said, when you're starting out, you just have to pump stuff out. You have to be okay with putting out cringe, putting out trash. And I am a chronic perfectionist, which I'm getting over now. And I'm reading this book, Brene Brown, I think I talked about last episode, but it's talking a lot about shame, and like the fact that like there's shame attached whenever you like you value like success and recognition over courage and bravery. You then allow like the quote unquote failure of your attempts in life, whether it's to go talk to someone you're interested in, or to go put out a piece of artwork. Whenever it doesn't do well and that's attached directly to you, then you feel that, as opposed to like, my value is in being brave enough to pursue this thing I care about. Yeah. You know, and to keep on trying and trying and trying, you know.
To have that experimental spirit. Yeah. I've always admired Bob Dylan, because it seems to me, even if he was on stage, he was still experimenting. It was never showtime for him, you know. I think performers have this: it's rehearsal, let's try stuff, and then it's showtime.
Yeah, don't mess up.
No, yeah, I heard there was this one guy went to a Bob Dylan concert back in the 70s, and he in St. Louis, and Dylan played the whole concert with his back to the audience. I don't know what he was. He was probably like a.
Yeah, those are drugs.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, could have been heavy drug usages, honestly. But he's always experimenting. He's like, oh no, he's just not there.
I really value
zooted
that.
out of his mind.
Yeah, I think people like whenever any artist or any creator has a little bit of success, you want to keep it. You want to stay there. And
you
want to
protect, dude.
Yeah.
To be vulnerable, which how dare we on this podcast? But I'm like, with my God and Gabriel series that was getting like 15 million views.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my room at a certain point of like, I'm printing money, baby. Like it was a pandemic, and I'm like, I cannot die. You know, it had been like 2 months. Like every video I put out, it's a banger. I'm running this thing. You know, and then as I saw the fad start to die off, which like in TikTok, we talked about this a lot of TikTokers, they don't realize they're kind of your street performer. You know, which you get a lot of viewership. There's a lot of people going by on the road and stuff like that. There's a lot of cars passing. You might get honks and celebrations, but those people don't really necessarily know who you are, you know?
Or stay.
They're just passing by, and you entertain them on this corner. That's super great, as opposed to people who are more like YouTubers who like people drive to. I feel like YouTubers are more like a drive-in theater if you have to like compare, or like a little shop that people go to, a destination kind of thing.
I mean, it's more like a TV channel.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna go to this TV channel at 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Exactly,
and,
to see the thing that you love, you know. Whereas TikTok is like you don't have to try to see it.
Yeah.
Like you just show up and you'll be entertained by something. It's the algorithm's job to entertain you, and so it's like look at this, look at this, look at this. You know,
It knows.
It knows, or it knows very well, and so it's like, and it serves it up to you. You don't have to try, but whenever there's a littlest barrier of entry and effort that you have to make, it becomes very quickly apparent as to like which creators you actually enjoy and which creators you actually like would show up for, you know? But I say that to say, like, in terms of like trying to, as an artist, whenever you try to hold on to that little success you have or whatever measure of success you have, like, and you stop experimenting, like you almost, like, there was this notion growing up, Christian, I had a pastor, he would say like, don't forsake what brought you to the dance. In a sense of like, I think the example that's in my head is like, oh, you go to the prom, you ride with a friend to prom, and then it's like, oh, I met some cooler people at prom, so I'm gonna dip out with you for you guys and like hang out with these new people, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got these cool things, and it's like, no, you should like don't forget what got you here.
Yeah.
You know, like don't let go of what got you here. And for me, like when I did the God and Gabriel stuff that was taken off, I stumbled into God and Gabe because I was just experimenting and having fun with like my family and friends, right? And like trying voice acting, just being consistent. And I completely left that concept of like experiment, try new things, be okay to fail, just enjoy the process, like eat dirt, just eat dirt. You know, like Gary Vaynerchuk says. Sam loves Gary Vaynerchuk a whole lot, so much.
So much.
He DM'd me recently, and I was kind of amazed. Yeah.
What'd you say?
He said, yeah, I'm working on stuff.
No, I think he legitimately asked me what my favorite color was or something. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, I think he was DMing a lot of people and just like he just encouraged me and said, you know, keep going, love what you're doing, whatever. But I think, and then after that, it was like, what's your favorite color or something?
And then Baron just stopped responding. He's like, I don't have clear.
As you should.
If her color is clear. What now? Gary's brain melts. You know. But the whole end of the story, I was saying, is just like that concept of like experimenting and staying after it is not what I left that once I got a measure of fame and success, and instead just started to do what people wanted me to do. Like, they like this, so this is all I'm going to do. And I left what got me there, which was the experimentation, the exploration, and like the just loving the craft and having fun, putting stuff out, like throwing stuff up against the wall, you know, which I think you have to hold on to.
Well, do you create for yourself, or do you create with the audience in mind?
Well, whenever it was like starting out, or whenever I hit that God and Gabe series, I'm like, oh, the audience loves this. And that killed me so quick because I'm like, I hate this now because I only do this and it's the only thing they respond to. I'm like, wait, guys, look at this thing. And they're like, boo, do the voice. And I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. But it makes money. But now, literally, after in the 4-year journey of doing this stuff, I'm now getting back to a spot of like, dang, people aren't really loving what I'm doing now, but I love it. And it excites me and it gives me the life I need. And again, Liv Pearsall was on here and she said a great thing about like a Venn diagram almost of like 20% of what purely your audience wants, 20% of purely what you want, and then 60% of like that mixture. I always give the example, I'm like, as a creator, think of it as like you're a DJ. Like, you got to play the stuff that you feel. You got to play those bangers that get you going too, but also play the crowd pleasers, get everybody up and moving with it. And then the rest of the time, we're all having a great time, you know?
Right. I mean, I don't know about ever catering to the audience. I don't know if that's ever a thing for me, because I feel like it's
that's
smarter.
The thing with art majors. You know, they just
don't
that's the thing
care.
about art majors.
They don't care about you.
I have the bottom line and profit sheets to look at. No.
I can't read numbers. All right, just forget about it. Forget about the numbers. All right, I think the smart strategy is to realize we're not that special. So if we find something interesting, there's probably mathematically going to be other people that
Who
find
resonate
them
with that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So you're always in control. And I think if you start catering to an audience that you don't fully understand, now you're on their turf.
You're in like you're out in the middle of the water. It's like, I don't know where. That's what I felt like
no
happened.
idea.
I'm like, I don't know what you guys like about this, but
Yeah.
I don't like it. But I was doing it because it was working, and now I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. And that's dangerous because now you lose control. You have no idea what's
You
going
have to spend 2 years getting back to the core of whatever it is you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And starting almost from scratch and having a bunch of these people who you were able to get, like all these people who showed up are now like, what are you doing? We don't like this. Do the thing we asked you to do, as opposed to starting off and sticking to you doing what you love and what resonates with you and building an audience based off of people who respond and resonate with that.
And it's this balance though, because did you know, Annoying Orange?
Yeah.
He's still out there.
Really?
Yeah, and so many people are.
Is she still making new stuff?
No, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same shtick, and it's just this weird feeling like, oh my god, I feel so old, but also he's doing the exact same thing, and so it's this combination of. I was always a fan. I was a fan back in the day, but I kind of want something new. I don't know. I guess
it's the thing too of like, are they happy? If they're happy, then go for it. If they're like, why isn't it working? I'm like, oh, well, what is work? What is your definition of working? Because I can tell you why right now. If you want to see something change or different, then by all means. But if it's like, if they're happy, like the yodeling kid from Walmart, I think like he was just doing that, right?
Yeah.
And the global eye and attention came and saw him like, wow, look at this, and then it just kept on moving. He's still yodeling in Walmart and stuff like that. It's just what he does. It's what he likes. That could be false information, but that's a narrative I think I want to tell. That's a narrative that I enjoy. That narrative feels about right.
I feel like I saw him. He did the yodeling thing, and then like within a year or so, he got like a record deal. But then he just like that was it. Like he grew up to be a normal kid, and then I think he's like 16 or something like that.
I think that's what happened. I think he might be working
like a
again.
retail job now. Like,
Yeah.
Which again, I used to be like, dang, I don't want that to happen to me. But now I'm like, dude. That's the thing of like growing up, like I grew up in Florida. Sam grew up in Florida. You were in the Midwest. Like we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but like there's this notion of like whenever you're in Los Angeles, to be out here, you have to be like so ambitious.
Yeah.
Because you can't just like no one's here to just hang out again unless you're the heiress of like the Jif peanut butter company.
Yeah.
Then you can just have money like pouring out of your ears and you can just hang out wherever you want. But for most people who live in this city, you have to be ambitious. You have to work hard. You have to like figure out what's my next gig. How am I moving? How am I like upscaling? And you have this like piece of you, I imagine, that like has that adventure or explorer spirit of like, I need something new or something more or something like greater, that ambition,
How does that ambition compare to New York?
I haven't seen. Every time I go to New York, Sam has a problem where he yawns on this podcast all the time. There was a yawn count he hit 9 times in the span of 30 minutes one time.
It's just whenever boring people come on. I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
Barrett's like, I'm going to slash your tires. I'm going to write the double yawn back. I haven't spent a lot of time in New York, but I mean, and to wrap up what I was saying with the ambition piece, like people like the yodeling kid, it's like you can say, oh man, that sucks that he's back just like working retail. But I'm like, dude,
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like to have the satisfaction
of
like, I make my money, I make the money I need to make, I get to go home, I turn my brain off, I do this thing I like. Dude, that's happiness.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of agree. I always thought that if I ever had kids, I'd be a little disappointed if they wanted to go into the arts because that meant something went wrong. And I
they have something to
wrong.
write about, so I did something wrong.
Yeah. Because I don't know. If you don't feel satisfied just having a wonderful relationships with your neighbors, with your family, with your partner, and just meeting all your basic needs and just coming home to that. If you don't feel satisfied by that, something went wrong because you want something more. You find that boring. You find nice survival boring.
Yeah. Like
which
like
is
the
insane.
Base level me. And I see where that's coming from too. But I know like having some people just have that itch. Which is what all the movies are about, like I had to move to the big city, I had to go to Los Angeles because I know I hardcore like was like LA where all my dreams have come true. And then I came and visited. I'm like, I cannot move there. I cannot go. Do not come. Look
at you now.
Yeah. I'm gonna come.
Every time I compliment or roast a city, you're gonna get some backlash. But here's my opinion. Everything I've heard about LA is wrong. Like LA rocks. I love it.
It does.
I really like it here. And for all the, the backlash about it, it doesn't hit me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really register. To me, I just see it as this curated place of people with incredible dreams who are all somehow in the arts. That's insane to me, because if you go to any other city, it's you. If you're in the arts, you're the odd one out.
I'll say this, like, like, you got to try living here. Like, when you live here, it's so, because I love LA, and I'll start off by saying that, and it's someplace I always want to stay connected to, but there is an element of just, like, it feels like I'm on set sometimes. Like, growing up, again, like, I told this story, I'm like, one of my best memories from the past year is going to Miami and breaking open a coconut in a parking lot of a boat ramp at, like, 2 a.m. Like, there's no parties, there's no nothing. I'm literally just rolling over a coconut with my car and my friend Hunter, and, like, we had a great time. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. LA could never, And I'm like, wait a minute. In LA, we're going to, like, world premieres of, like, films and stuff like that. We're meeting, like, Lil Xan. That's not really.
I was like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, in a lot of places, actually.
Does it feel temporary? Does it feel permanent or temporary?
It does not feel permanent, but that could, again, because I'm only 2 years here. Maybe people who grew up here have been living here for a while. Like, no, it's here. This is what it is. But I'm like, for me, the thing, we mentioned this too, I'm like, the thing I feel like is a differentiator too is, like, I feel like most people in the world are content to, like, they do their work as a form of, like, being able to live. Mm-hmm. Like, I work so I can live. Yeah. But in LA, it's like, no, my work is my life.
Right.
Yeah. So whenever I have this mentality of, like, oh, I love Waffle House, which, if you haven't heard of Waffle House, it is not an IHOP that serves waffles. Waffle House is a diner that serves waffles, grilled chicken, hash browns, hamburgers, apparently, and, like, eggs. That's it. That's what they have there.
And a place to watch for a free fight.
Oh, free fight all the time. There's always a free fight, whether in the parking lot, in the kitchen, sometimes in the booths, but usually it's like in the parking lot or in the kitchen. There's going to be a free fight at a Waffle House. And I love Waffle House because, to me, Waffle House is like the quintessential human spirit. Now, let me say what I mean by that. It is like there's nothing between you, the people who are working, barely a thin pane of glass between you and the shootouts in the parking lot. But it's like, and there's a jukebox. There's some music. Oh, yeah. There's always a jukebox. Yeah. You can pick whatever you want. And it's like, and it's open 24/7. So, like, it can be 3 a.m. and you're having a bad night. You text a friend, hey, you want to go to Waffle House? So, like, let's go to Waffle House, I guess. You can just sit there as long as you want. The people working are like, what's up? You good? Do you need coffee? Can I get you something? I've had a lady buy me lunch. Like, one of the workers. She probably actually didn't pay for it. But she was like, hey, are you hungry? And I'm like, yes. Because I was in high school and I was just like, I'm just gonna get some, like, a water and, like, a juice. And she's like, I got you. Get a pancake or have a waffle or whatever. And it's just like this element of, like, you don't need anything to enjoy life. I mean, you have the most basic ingredients. You have a diner. Every building is exactly the same. Yep. It's in the most unpristine locations. It's like in the parking lot of a Shell gas station is a Waffle House. And it's like you can have I've had 3 of my graduations in a Waffle House.
Wow.
3 of my graduations. Really? Like graduation dinners. Oh, okay. Not the whole graduation. They're like, why do they keep letting you come back?
Imagine you're getting your diploma at the Waffle House.
Order up. But, like, I just, like, go to my graduation. I did it. My parents are like, where do you want to go? I'm like, they're like, please no. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're like, we don't want to do this again. And I'm like, guys. And so it's been Waffle House, and it's just something about, like, the simplicity. And when I come to, like, in a place like Los Angeles, which a lot of people dream about, which if you're dreaming about moving to Los Angeles, you should do it. I think it's totally worthwhile, and I would never dissuade anybody from doing that because I think it's necessary. Yeah. But I know there's another element of, like, everywhere else in the world, and, like, probably wherever you're living right now, there's probably an element of, like, this is enough. Like, I have my happiness. I have, like, the people I enjoy being around. It's not as fancy. There's maybe not parties or crazy premieres, but guess what? I'm able to find happiness, like, going on drives or hanging out in a Walmart parking lot. You're from the Midwest. Like, you know what this is like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then that's what scares me about LA and New York is that, to me, it's too nice. And I'm going to get into that comparison game inevitably. Inevitably. I'm not sure if you can avoid it because everything's always better.
Yeah.
Right?
All your friends all my friends, like, I used to be, I was going to say, it sounds funny when I say it, but I'm like, I used to be happy. Like, I used to be happy with 2 million followers.
I remember that day.
Yeah. I used to be happy having 2. I'm like, I thought it was hot stuff. And then all of a sudden I see my friends with like 10 million, 20 million. I'm like, I'm just not good enough. Yeah. I'm like, what do my fans care about? Like, who cares about 2 million whenever you can have 20 million and just not doing a good job,
Where? Little 2 million.
Exactly. Comparison kills, you know, as opposed to living out in the middle of the Grand Canyon and being like, or like what's the dude who's like doing the Everglades content? Like going like he goes out in the Everglades at night. Dude,
yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He starts talking to the toads and stuff.
Yeah, dude. No, there's a guy. He's making videos where it's like, what is he? How does he start them? Do you know?
No, but he's like a hippie Cajun.
He's just like, guys, we're back. Look, we'll find a little swamp puppy. And he like grabs an alligator out of the dark water at night. He's like, look.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, this guy tried to bite me. It's a cottonmouth snake.
Oh my gosh.
And he's just like going around touching stuff. And everybody in the comments like, if he ever stops posting, we know exactly what happened. Like we know exactly what happened. I'm like, that's crazy. But I'm like, I imagine that dude is probably not too concerned with numbers and is probably having a great time.
Yeah.
Like Danny Duncan. You know Danny Duncan?
Yeah.
He lives out in like the middle of Florida, bought up half his town, just blows stuff up and like sets cars on fire and makes content out of it. And he's like, I'm chilling. He lived in LA for a little while and then moved out, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it makes me wonder if having any kind of dream for
it's worthwhile.
I don't know if it's a curse. I don't know. I don't know if it's a privilege or a curse because you want this thing and now it's on you. Now you're hooked and now you gotta pursue it or else you'll feel sad if you don't, right?
Yeah. Well, but I feel like, you know, like that's I think on the yawn counter, by the way, for ladies and gentlemen at home, Sam is sitting at I think 8 right now. Sam, pick a card out of the deck. How about that? Okay. You got to give the kids like a coloring book, something to do in the meantime. It keeps him stimulated. He's got a stim in the corner.
His blood sugar's low.
But no, I feel like I legit feel like having a dream is valid and worthwhile, but I feel like I don't want to say like it comes at a cost because that feels like maybe
too pretentious.
Yeah. Like it comes at a cost to have a dream. You'll never find someone who's willing to settle down and run across the countries with you, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I do feel like there's a level of like, when am I satisfied?
You know,
like when is enough?
Yes.
Which is,
but there's also there's also this idea that I think whenever people move out to LA, they become very grounded.
Yeah.
And I do think that. I think
humbled or grounded?
Both. You know, and
how so?
Because they come here with this crazy dream. Like I want to make movies. I want to be famous.
Yeah.
And they come here and realize they meet these people who actually are famous, who actually are making ground in the industry, and they become humbled because they're not that, and they're so far from that. And I think you kind of need to be a bit crazy. You need to be a bit delusional for this thing to work.
Yeah.
And you could probably be a lot more delusional anywhere else where like, you know, you're not going to get humbled and grounded.
Isn't that crazy? Because I feel like this feels like the place you need to be, but then it's like whenever you can get away from here long enough to be like, oh wait, I am good enough
or crazy enough.
It's like perspective shift.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm back home around my friends who don't have any teeth and like are all on meth, like do anything.
You know, I think didn't Mark Cuban say that? Like if entrepreneurs knew the stats of starting a business, I don't think we would not have any entrepreneurs.
Yeah, why? What's the point?
No one would try because you got to be dumb enough to try.
Yeah.
And you got to be dumb enough to actually go for it. And I think when you come here, it's harder.
There's a lot of people who will tell you it does not work.
It doesn't
as opposed
work,
to being at home where people are like, you're so good at singing, you should go out for American Idol.
Something like that.
You know, like you get that notion, like you're such a good singer, you should be on American Idol when like maybe you're not that hot. But if you still believe in yourself enough to try and practice and train, you can get over a lot of that doubt. How would we summarize this? Because I think this is a unique point that I want to kind of like give to people in like what's the takeaway here? Because I'm like, this is important. It's an important notion of like, should you be in LA? Do you need to? What does it mean about following your dreams and everything like that? And like navigating all this.
I feel like just like setting a realistic goal. Like like if you're in a small town or something like that and you want to move to LA or whatever, or even if you're in a big town and you want to move to LA, like setting somewhat of a realistic goal and sticking to it. Because LA is a very or New York City, it's a very grindy city. You're always pushing the goalpost when you're in one of these cities, which is why like people here are like never really satisfied. You know, they're always trying to be more and more and more and more. But like if you set that goal and stick with it, it's a lot easier to keep yourself in perspective.
And I think be specific with the goal.
Yeah.
If you can be as specific as you can, it's probably going to narrow down.
Be healthier.
Oh, much healthier because now you know exactly what you're going for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is hard to keep a goal whenever there are other people who are flying past it.
Right.
Like whenever it's like, this is my goal to do this thing, and there are other people like, yeah, we just hit like 50 billion streams. That's really like, it's whatever. It's not even that hard. But it's, we got round 7 funding for our VC.
I know a few people where that would push them though. Like that competitive nature, that dog in them just makes them get up in the morning and do that. So maybe LA is right for them.
I think it is.
I
think it's right for a certain group of people. But again, with all of us being from maybe that's our problem. We're just some down home Southern, Midwestern Southern boys.
sir.
So we just want take me on a lazy river.
Yeah, take me on a boat.
Dip my feet in the water, my toes in the sand. Not a care in the world, a cold beer in my hand. Life's good today.
Let me catch a catfish with my fist.
Call me mullet fingers. I read the book Hoot once. Oh, was that Hoot? Did you read Hoot? Did you ever read Hoot?
I can't read.
Did you have? Sam said this before we started. He's like, I have literally done help design space missions. Say what you said. Tell the audience what we're working with when it comes to NASA and our interstellar operations.
So a while ago, I was working with NASA to design the next manned mission to the moon. And
how many books have you read lately, like ever in your life?
In my life,
yeah,
maybe a handful.
How less than 5?
Maybe 5.
What were they? Do you remember any of them?
The Percy Jackson series. Actually, no. I've read 7 books because I read the 5 Percy Jackson books and then the 2 Heroes of Olympus books, which is the sequel Percy Jackson series.
And you've helped design manned space missions?
Yeah, it was funny earlier. I was like, yeah, I've helped design like manned space missions, like the total cycle of the entire mission, including like the budgeting and materials and stuff. And then I read at a 3rd grade level.
And if someone goes to his house, like, wow, can I see your library? It's just like the 5 Percy Jackson books. It's like, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what? This is chance.
I have a theory on that though. I think this, like, if you are this mega mind genius, or if your workload is so intense, you got to balance that out with something stupid. My fiance, she is a consultant, very stressful job. Yeah. She's just under the pump all day, right?
She only watches Percy Jackson.
She only watches The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
90 Day Fiance.
Oh, okay.
Not
Close
much
enough.
better. What I'm saying is, I think this is a pattern I see, like even in Korea, where they study from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Basically, they almost have to offload all that academia and all that work
into karaoke.
With karaoke and K-pop. Honestly, it's got to be something stupid and brainless, because they don't want to think. They can't. It's too filled.
Are you half Korean?
I am half Korean.
Oh.
I'm 3% Vietnamese.
Are you really?
I think so.
So he can relate.
I've never had anybody say, "Are you really?"
Yeah.
Like,
everybody's always like, "Shut up."
Or they accept it. I've never had somebody be like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." And if they say how, I just saw a picture of my grandma. She looked kind of like my great grandma. I'm like, she looks kind of Vietnamese.
Do you feel connected to your Vietnamese?
Not as much as I want to. One of my other friends is Vietnamese, Rosie. What if she's not Vietnamese and I just completely misheard what she said? She's like, she said, I'm Italian.
It's completely wrong.
Jasmine Rice Girl is actually Italian. Do I feel connected to my roots? Only when I have pho. If I have pho, I'm like, this is me. I'm like, this is
who I am on the inside.
This just feels like me. You know, I interrupted. You realize, oh, Korean. You're half Korean.
Oh yeah, half Korean. But I look Italian. I don't know. I don't look
Italian.
In any way Asian. So it's just a weird.
Have you been to Korea?
No, not yet. No.
When are you gonna do Mecca? Korean Mecca?
Probably this year.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this year or next. Yeah.
What do you have to do? Where do you go? Which part? Which Korea?
So my family's from. They're actually right now they're living in Gangnam from the song.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but they were based a little south of Seoul in Suwon. But
that's the South Korea.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they didn't escape.
I was like, that's why you're in America.
Yeah, who
you
said anything about escaping?
Escape what? Yeah. I was like, oh no, he doesn't know. Nobody's told him.
Oh no.
Well, although, aren't you hearing all this stuff come out now about how North Korea is actually not as bad as a lot of these?
I've been hearing a little bit about that.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they saying?
There's like, yeah, it's not that bad.
It's not as bad as they were, as all these people North Koreans who escaped.
Yeah.
are saying. Like the problem is they escape, and then a lot of times they become sort of hosts of these shows in South Korea. And but they run out of material very quickly, and it's kind of boring to say, we had lost 90% of our income. But it's really interesting to say, we ate rats off the street. Some of it's probably true, but for
so it's a little bit of sensationalizing.
Because there's one of them that came here to the U.S. And she's been on like a bunch of like Joe Rogan podcasts, was it Adam B or whatever his name is, like No Jumper. Like she went on a bunch of like these big podcasts, and she's been like talking about all this stuff, and then there's been a lot of people in North Korea that are like, that's not true at all.
Yeah. And
she's just saying that to like get you, because she's now become a celebrity. She has like a book or something like that. And so
we eat our hands.
Yeah, something like that. Like that. And so
we had to eat our young to survive.
There was that old quote: "Romantic ideals are whittled down to whatever works." Yeah, and I think for her case, it's this worked. This is the route that worked, and she was getting rewarded for this, for telling more and more sensational stories, and you just keep going.
In the business world, we call that minimum viable product.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think it's a correlation. You just said something real smart, and I just wanted to participate. I wanted to play too. There's a quote.
Include me.
There's a quote. I'm like, well, actually, the Q4 income statement is looking, and so with the investment ratio of a P/E ratio. That's all the terminology I remember. I didn't write anything
like, now he's just saying words.
I didn't study except for the test, so I forgot most of the things.
He goes to business school, and all he can remember is the word PP.
PE ratio. It's a PE ratio, which is the
very mature, Lonnie.
It's how much you should pay for a stock, and I only know that because I had to Google it recently because my bank account lawyer, finance guy, was like, do you know how to manage your money? And I'm like,
for a business student.
I'm like, write it off. He's like, stop. He's like, stop. You can't just write off everything. I'm like, but I'm an S Corp. He's like, that's not a thing. And I'm like, anyways.
You can't write off Disney.
Yes, I can. We talked about work.
If you go to the movies, it's just entertainment. You can't write that off.
That's not a business expense. I'm like, says who? The IRS.
There was some. I remember there was some writers a while back trying to write off their bed.
Oh,
because
really?
they would think in their bed, and they would say, this is a.
I respect it.
Honestly,
I respect it also. I mean, the thing is, I feel like so much of business is like you can get away with whatever you can get away with.
Yeah.
Until if the IRS says it's fine, then it's fine. And if the IRS doesn't know, then it's fine. Until the IRS finds out.
Until they knock on your door.
Until they knock on your door, or you get an email. It's got to be upsetting. Like, actually, I mean, I've seen the first episode of Schitt's Creek, so that's what happened there. All right. Another question I have is, like, now that you've been here for a little while, you're here in LA visiting Baron, like, versus, and I guess we've kind of explored this a little bit, like this notion of like growing up with these more like conservative, like, not even, and I don't mean conservative in like a super like political sense of like, but I mean like coming from the Midwest and the South versus getting into like big cities like New York and Los Angeles. How has your views on life shifted? Like, have your values shifted? Has your have things like tightened up in the value system? Like, how do you define almost even being a good person like in either spaces? Because I know when I grew up, I had a very specific vulnerability time, because I think it's important to talk about this stuff. Like, one of the school I went to growing up, there was a mosque across the street, and I distinctly remember the kids like at my school being like, we have to either go like pray for the mosque and convert them to Christianity, or it's war, and I'm like, that's not.
Or we buy a 12-pack of eggs and have a great time.
Oh, I wish eggs would be kind, but just some like outlandish stuff, and I'm like, what, which at the time I'm like, I don't know if that's probably something about that isn't probably, and now I'm like, I go to college and I'm like, yes, a lot of my Muslim friends are better people than my Christian friends,
Sure.
Like, and I don't know if you grew up like religious or what that space looked like for you, but I know in the Midwest and in the South, like, and Sam, I want to hear your perspective on this as well. But
I might as well. I mean, I didn't grow up religious, but I grew up in a very traditional, very conservative house. My dad just, my dad's, American and my mom's Korean. And naturally, the Korean way of raising your kids is very traditional and very conservative.
Gotcha.
And you got strict rules. And
I did not know this.
I think it's a different creature. It's a different kind of person living in the city, coming from the country.
Yeah, that's
It really
true. Versus
is.
growing up in this versus like growing up in the city.
It really is.
Because like when you meet a local Los Angelinos,
Angelino?
That's what I said the first time. Yeah, whenever you meet a local Los Angeles, they have a different perspective on the city and everything about it versus whenever like you talk to someone who's not from here.
I think it's much better to go from rural to urban than urban to rural because when you're in the rural environment, everything is quiet. There's not as much stimulus. You go to and you can go from quiet to loud. It's a bit of a rough transition, but you can get there. But it's a lot more traumatic and a lot more shocking to go from all this stimulus to nothing.
I've seen people
crazy.
go crazy.
It has scared me when I drive. When I go like, I would like when I was living in Florida, you'd like go drive just to like on the drive from like where I lived over to Orlando. There would be these houses in the middle of like, I'm like, I swear to God, we've been driving for 3 hours, haven't seen a single gas station. There's just a random house out there. And I'm like, and that is where I would end it all. Just a little bit up.
You're just alone with your thoughts.
Crazy. And I'm like, and the people are very happy with that. But I distinctly remember always being like, I could never be me.
I'm not sure if they're happy, but they're certainly
You have to be happy.
You have to be?
Have to be.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's the rule.
I wish someone told me. I would never have moved out to any city. You know?
Exactly. You have to be. If you're living in a small town, you have to be happy.
Nah.
That's the rules.
Interesting.
But like, I think I don't know. You come at it. I think you come at it trying to run away from home a little bit.
The big city?
Generally. No, coming from a rural area to an urban area, you try to run away from all that. I know I certainly did.
Yeah.
I wanted to run away from everything that was the rural.
What'd you hate
living.
about it?
I didn't hate anything about it. It was just, not enough ambition, not enough stimulus, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of hard to make up stuff out of nowhere when you're on your own like that. I like to get my material in the city, a lot of stimulus, and then write in the rural areas.
Got you. Collect the ideas. That's what I've been saying about like whoever I marry, like I'm gonna like meet a girl or something like that out in LA and just kidnap her back to Texas. I said this last podcast.
That is healthy, yeah.
Did you?
I think I did. That's the plan. Listen, because if they stay here, it's too many options. But if you can like, you do a little Stockholm syndrome, I guess, and you bring them back to like a rural area, it's like it's just me and you.
And just like that, this is turning into an alpha male podcast.
And that's love. And that's love. That's what love's all about. Continue.
Yeah.
You take your ideas in the city and take them back. You get it in the city and you take it back home. I love that. I agree. I so see what you're saying.
I don't know. It's tough. I think moving to the city, you realize you don't have to be angry about stuff. You don't have to have an obsession over things that have nothing to do with you. Yeah. I was for some reason,
small town kind of talk and stuff like that.
Not just that, but I would be obsessed with world news. I would just be obsessed with news that had nothing to do with me, and it would anger me. And you come to the city and you realize, it doesn't actually apply. It doesn't really matter.
You could be so busy in the city. It's like I don't have time to think.
No, not really. Not really. Like, I think the most political people live in the rural areas. I think if you're just a productive corporate worker, I'm not sure if you have time to obsess over these issues as much as people who have nothing to do.
Are you then more just a cog in the issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're a cog in the issues as opposed to a bystander. You're in the arena as opposed to spectating.
Correct.
So one way or another, you're either helping communism or helping capitalism, but one or the other if you have a job in the city. If you're a farmer, I don't know if you're a farmer. What are you even doing? No, that's a joke. Thank you, farmers.
I was like, where are you going with this?
I don't have a philosophical point to make off of that. Baron's just really smart, okay? Like you get numbers in math, he gets like philosophy and writing, and I'm just like... I'm spinning the
Trying to keep up.
I'm spinning the sign.
It's a facade.
It just says like free iPhone here with the arrow, and the fine print just says with 2-year contract.
With 2-year contract and $1,000 down payment.
Yeah.
Free iPhone. That's me in between this conversation. I just like to participate.
But no, I mean, like I get the whole.
Of course you do.
Wow.
Of course you understand things, smart guy.
I get the sentiment of like trying to run, because like when I grew up, it was more of like a sheltered home. My parents are African; they're very strict, and so for me, it just felt like when I was at home all the time because I couldn't go out and have fun with my friends. It felt like I was just sitting there like dormant, like I'm itching to like run and spread my wings and all that fun stuff. And then when I left for college, like when I was choosing colleges, my parents were like, "You have a guaranteed full ride to FSU," which was the college in our town. And they were like, "We want you to stay here." Away. Yeah, they're literally. And they were like, "Oh yeah, everything's paid for, everything's set. You can just stay here at home with us, save money on rent and all that stuff." And I tried to choose the college that was as far away as possible. Yeah. I got a scholarship to Hawaii Pacific University, which I was like, Hawaii is the farthest place I can go.
I got recruited for Hawaii, like the University of Hawaii.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like my first football offer was like University of Hawaii.
Mine was soccer.
Dog, we could have been. We could have been in Hawaii, bro.
We could have been in Hawaii.
Please donate to support Hawaii and Maui and all the things going on right now.
Yes.
We have made our donations. Please make one as well.
But they didn't have like a good STEM program there, and I was like, okay, what's the next best thing that does a STEM program that's also far away from home? And that's where I found Embry-Riddle, where he went to, and it was really nice because my parents were too far away to visit all the time. Oh, I could just be the crazy,
honestly.
Yeah, like they were. It was like 4 or 5 hours away, so they were like close enough to where they could visit, but like visit once every couple.
They feel
months.
like you're close enough, but they're probably not going to do a surprise visit on you.
Oh yeah,
and get away with it.
But did you find your relationship with your parents got better?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say my relationship with my parents got better because I could be more open about things. Like the longer I stayed in college and like I was away from them, the less I felt like I had to hide things from them. Yeah, because I hid a lot of stuff from them growing up, right? Like
the heroin.
Yeah. But then, like, when I was in college, it just became so easy because I'm like, okay, what are they going to do? Be mad? I don't have to deal with mad parents every day. I just have to deal with mad parents, like, on the phone. Yeah. And if I don't feel like dealing with them, boop, that's it. Like, there's definitely been times where, like, I've told my parents something. I'm like, oh, yeah, I, got a D in this class. And they're like mad at me, and I'm just like, no, boop. I don't feel like dealing with this today. Today's not the day. I'm already mad at myself for getting a D.
I think we already established earlier that Sam's just a bad child.
Awful child. But it was nice. It like felt like I could finally like be who I really am, and like I could take off. Like my creativity could run free, my personality could run free, and that was only like 4 hours away from home. When I moved to LA, I was like, oh, now I can really be who I want to be. I'm far away from everyone.
Yeah, I didn't realize that part was a surprise to me. That when you move out of the house, you actually have space for your own thoughts.
Exactly.
And to form. And I didn't actually, I wasn't expecting that at all, but I did have a lot more respect and compassion for my parents when I moved out. Yeah. When you're in it, you don't see that at all. You don't feel that. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest.
Whenever you try to build a home on your own, away, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like this is some things I didn't recognize or realize. Like I gotta, like whenever you're at home, it's like food is here. Yep. Food is around, food is here. Whenever you're out on your own, it's like, I ate pancakes for the 8th time this week. Like, because it is all I have, and I do not have the energy to make food and to work. Yeah. And your parents are fully like taking it, like knocking it all down and taking care of everything. This is a quick little note and reminder to text your parents and let them know you care about them. If you have the type of relationship that is not like super... Like, if they've done something crazy and you guys are estranged for a good reason, which I would say is something like, oh, there was abuse at some capacity, you probably leave it alone. But if your parents have objectively done nothing wrong to you, have cared about you and loved you, it's a great time to text them and tell them thank you for that.
I thought you were going to say, if you have parents.
If you have parents. Some people might not have parents.
Some people don't have parents.
And then text the next person who hopefully has cared for you at some capacity. And hey, if that's us, we accept donations. We will exploit you.
$2 for every text message.
And we love you. And we love you so much. Baron, tell me you love me.
He said, I can't endorse this message.
Yeah. I cannot endorse the exploitation. I'm trying, guys. It just doesn't work. I try to... It's just nothing's coming out.
I'm not good of a person. I just like...
Yeah. I'm just too good of a person. Sam, did you pull out any questions?
I did. What was...
Ooh, off the dome. That's amazing. Look at him. Stim major reading.
I've been waiting.
Stim major reading words.
Finally, my ooga booga brain. Can,
Sound it out.
What? I think it was, when is the last time that you felt alive?
Ugh.
Or like truly alive. Truly alive.
I'm not here.
This
is heaven.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. The past couple days, I really have not been feeling very human.
my knee jerk reaction, like, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, start us off.
When was the last time I felt alive? I think.
Is Kai laughing at you in the back?
I think every time most of the time, on most days, it sucks. Writing sucks. It just it's a slog for the first 20 minutes, and then you get somewhere, then you get somewhere, and you get somewhere.
Wow.
And I think this one, I think it was last month, I submitted my book. But I was on a very, very tight deadline.
Yeah.
I wanted to rewrite. I had to rewrite this whole thing. I wrote this thing when I was 20 or something.
How old are you now?
I'm 26 now.
Gotcha.
And so I was going to self-publish it, and then a publisher picked it up, and now it's a whole thing.
Congrats.
And I had to re-edit this whole thing. And every time when I was reading it, it's kind of like I'm reading my 20-year-old self's thoughts.
Yeah.
And I always felt sorry for the 20-year-old me. And then I read this. I just wanted to slap myself, I really all the self-hatred just came back, right? It was so quick. And then I really felt good after I wrote it and I submitted it and I was done with it, because I think it's a really good sign if you look back on your old work and you want to cry, cringe, or just you get angry at how bad it was. I think that's a great sign. And I felt so alive because I
felt
realized
all that as you were going through it.
I felt it all. And I realized I am better. I did get better. And I think I am a lot more mature and wiser, hopefully, now than I was then.
And also, I feel like with writing, the point is to make people, like, you're communicating emotions. You're causing people to feel. That's what I feel like a lot of art is. And if you can still evoke feelings in yourself, even if they're slightly different, you're still evoking a feeling,
I always thought we were in the feelings business, not the entertainment business, because that's what entertainment is. Where at least part of it is we're packaging up feelings and you're giving it to people and you're making them feel a thing.
Yeah. That's what I love so many of your videos and the content and the things you write, because like sometimes I love whenever I come across your videos and it's like, dang, you like, and it's so short that sometimes I'm just like, I wish this was a little bit longer, because it started to tickle my feeling. Like, tickle that feeling of nostalgia or like even sorrow, or like, oh, I miss this, or you capture the feeling, you put it into words, you serve it up on a plate. And that's a very unique thing. And also I love, actually, before we go on to like the other places we felt alive, what is a piece of advice you would give to people who want to write more? One piece of advice. Practical,
Practical. So, I would say when you're writing something, just keep in the back of your mind that you're going to write hundreds of pieces, stories, novels, whatever. You're going to write hundreds in your lifetime, because you're never going to stop. So whatever you're writing now, this is just one of them.
Oh, that's true. That's kind of encouraging. That is very encouraging. Like, as a perfectionist, sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't do it right, I didn't do this or do this. But like, you mentioned this to me the other day. You're like, you seem like somebody who's more of a writer who's like spoken writing, because again, I have siblings and we just gaslight each other throughout our entire adolescence. And so now my communication skills are in the realm of verbal combat, and that's where my comedy and my writing comes from. And whenever you mentioned that, like, it was also kind of freeing to hear even that little thing of like, there are different ways to write, You don't
have to sit down and write. If anything, that's kind of an inefficient way. Your brain moves 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It
like,
does.
I don't know if people can see that in the videos. I certainly didn't know that. I sat down and I was it was both overwhelming and kind of
what's
fascinating.
Wrong with this guy?
It was kind of amazing. Yeah, you're just going. You couldn't stop. You couldn't stop that machine, and they were all cogent thoughts. I couldn't believe it.
I do need, I'm adjusting the content, but I appreciate that. That's an encouraging thing for me personally as any level of writer to hear of like, you don't have to just, because I always write in class, it's like sit down, focus, write. And now to hear like, it's like, I use voice memos to write a lot of my stuff. I'm just like talking to myself like, oh, that's funny. Oh, there. Oh, let's get rid of this, put this together. Boom, that's a video, or that's a concept. Write this out more. Or I'm sitting with my friends and talking about this concept idea. the world just builds itself as we're talking, but I could never sit down like at a desk and write that all out. You know?
Yeah.
So.
It's, I think school really takes out a lot of that creativity because it really forces you to be a perfectionist a little bit.
Yeah.
It forces you to fear failure, forces you to sit down, focus, concentrate. And,
I don't know how I made it through English class. I just felt like I did not have the ability to write until like I got to college and my friend showed me, hey, you just do Google speech to text and like just talk and then it'll write it and then just go through and like read it and then make a little bit more sense and submit that. I'm like, dang, that actually saved my life. Like high key, like because I don't think I could have sat down and like written out a whole essay because she tried to teach me outlines and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I just like said, okay, well, what am I trying to explain? I know how to explain it. I don't know how to write it. And he's like, turn on speech to text, paragraph by paragraph, just explain it, and then go back and fix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, times felt most alive most recently. The times I feel most alive is when I'm in the car, flying down a highway, listening to music with my friends. That is what does it for me. And I think, I don't know, it might have been hanging with my grandma. And like she's like, hey, play this song by like Whitney Houston, play this song by Peebo Bryson. And I'm like, you're weird. But we were like blaring it and blasting the music and like driving around. It was like last week or something. I'm like, that's nice. I have those moments where I'm like, oh, when is it? The more times in a week I feel like, oh, I could die here and I'd be okay. I'd be happy. That's kind of what I count as those moments. It's like truly alive. And I try to orchestrate my schedule, my world to like stack those up as often as possible. But then also just to appreciate simple things like this, and to enjoy these times.
And those moments are tough because I feel like there's all this stigma behind recording and vlogging your life. And I sort of have the opposite feeling. I think I don't have FOMO, but I have this fear of missing the shot in a way because I'm not going to remember this. And I have that. I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think it's kind of villainized to always record your life. And, you shouldn't record every detail. Sure, something should be kept to yourself. But, when you see a beautiful moment, like if we were watching a movie right now, we would the whole audience would value a scene that said, you know what? This is a beautiful moment, and I'm not going to capture it.
And because we got to enjoy it, because someone captured it, we were able to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. Like, you got, I don't know. I just feel the opposite. I feel like you got to capture these beautiful moments, and if you don't, you miss out. I don't know.
I think of like the moms who always want to take pictures of every time you and your siblings or family get together. Yeah. And I'm like, that's honestly fair. Yeah. That's so fair because then you have a picture book when someone passes and it's like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, in all these spaces. Like I do think like stopping in the moment to pause and enjoy it is great, but also it's okay to take a picture and to capture it and then go through your photo album like a year later, like, ooh, remember we did this and this and that. Like that's still real,
Yeah. All this being said, I chose not to record the moment I proposed to my girlfriend because our parents probably don't have that recording. And I thought we're going into a world where so much of our lives are going to be recorded. Maybe this should be
just between
a memory
between the eyes and the retinas.
Well, it should exist as a memory because I think every time you tell that memory in your head, it's going to be different every time, a little bit different. And so it ought to exist that way. I don't think you should be so literal about the romantic moments in your life. Yeah.
Deep.
Wow.
Your turn. Follow that up.
Mine is.
Geez. Yeah, take us out of here, big boy.
Oh no. Mine is definitely the opposite direction. The last time I felt truly alive, I feel like was when I came to visit you in LA when you first moved here. Just because like. It was one of those, I had always been in like these small towns. Like I grew up in Tallahassee. I went to college in Daytona. I never really went to Orlando, even though it was like right next to Daytona. So it was like, I always had these like small town vibes in terms of like the environment that I was in. And I never went to big cities. So whenever I came out here to visit him, I was here for like a week and a half, and this was like maybe a couple weeks after you.
Dog, I had just got here. I did not have a bed. I had like I had maybe an inflatable mattress on the ground, and like I had just the shine of LA was still shining heavy.
Like things were still in boxes, and I was like, oh, okay, and we were basically just like exploring all of LA together, and like also he was like meeting up with these people like writers and other like, influencers and like other people, and it was just weird because it's like some of them I knew from the internet. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. I follow you. Wait,
I know your internet.
You're the guy from my phone.
Yeah, you're the guy from the TV commercial.
Yeah. So it was really like surreal that I was like, wow, I'm in this place that is just as, beautiful weather, sunshiny as Florida, but such a completely different vibe in terms of like the atmosphere of like the people and the personalities of the people. Cause like in Florida, everybody's like relatively like nice, but it's like that Southern charm of like, oh yeah, like we'll be nice, but I secretly hate you. Whereas like in LA, at least the people that we had met, they seem to like either it's very obvious that they like you, or it's very obvious that they don't like you, or they don't care about you, and it was just like that level of like realism. Just
it's fresh.
Yeah, it was fresh. Yeah, exactly.
People are either like really excited, or you can tell they don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're just like, well, you do what? You're a rocket scientist? That's crazy. Or they're like, you're a rocket scientist. How many followers?
Yeah. They're like,
Valid.
But yeah, it was, and also like we just went on these little mini adventures every day, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, it felt like a field trip every day for like 10 days.
Yeah.
Well, was there a moment where you decided I'm going to stay here, or did it gradually happen?
I don't think there was a specific moment. I think just like, because there was a period of time, like I think towards the end of that week, I was just like getting so close to canceling my return flight back home. I was like, I can call my boss and tell him something. I'll think. Yeah, I was like, hey, listen, boss, it ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna see me again.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
straight up.
I don't know what to tell you.
I wonder if that'll happen if we go into Europe. Like, we go somewhere really fun in Europe, like goodbye America, or like we go to like Australia and we're just like,
I went to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah.
Did you almost not come back?
Yeah.
I was planning on. I was kind of scouting it out to see if I could live there, and the answer is it's incredibly nice, but it's not a good place for someone who wants to do something crazy with their life. Yeah, it's good if you just want a good regular life and just be taken care of.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
If you want to settle down.
Obviously, like their systems and their scenery is just miles above us. But
I need to go visit. I went to Italy. I hated it. But I went to Italy expecting like an exciting high octane adventure, and I got like couples retreat vibes the entire time, and I was very sad, very very sad. And after day 3 of 14, I realized that I was trapped.
You went there thinking it was going to be a bachelor's party every single day.
At least a party, and then it turns out Italians, they eat and they hang out.
Passeggiata, just to walk without purpose.
A lot of that. A lot of passeggiata. A lot of that. A lot of eating. And I'm like, how am I supposed to burn off any of this food I'm eating? Like, they don't even have gyms.
How do you like to travel though? Like, you go to a country. So
if I go visit somewhere new, I haven't gone out of the country yet. But if I go somewhere new, I'm like, I want to go. If there's a concert, I want to do that. If there's a karaoke bar, I want to do that. If there's like a hike I can do, and like a group hike or something, I want to do that. I will go play basketball at the local courts, or like something active with like the locals is stuff I like to do. That's kind of my vibe.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm still figuring it out, Also, I think, guys, we gave you a little extra time here, this extra saucy, extra length podcast today. Unless we should maybe cut out the entire part where there's nothing to cut out. But maybe the people listening now will think we cut out something.
Oh, true.
Yeah, because
the people listening are just going to hear. We should cut out the part where actually there's nothing to cut out.
Yeah, there's nothing to cut out.
It feels like there was a
cut
there.
Oh my God, do you remember Monaco? Yeah, Monaco. That segment about Monaco.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, the viewers are really going to miss out Monaco.
Yeah.
That time where you mentioned your pal Harvey Weinstein. Ooh.
Oh, there we go. We just bleep out one of those, like either the first or the last name. You're like, which one is it? Harley Davidson. Do you have anything you want to say before we get out of here today?
No. Enjoy some sunlight.
Yeah, enjoy some sunlight. I want to say I love you all, and thank you guys for listening to this podcast. It's so fun to do, and just to get able to like talk to friends, and sometimes I guess have Kai like make us pancakes and stand the entire time in the background. Like he just stood there. You can see it if you watch the YouTube video. Join the Discord server and hang out with us in there, because that's always a fun time. And please make sure you subscribe and or follow, because it helps us keep on making these. Baron, anything you want to plug or say? Any last words you'd like to say to the whole universe?
Whatever you're working on, hurry up.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not doing enough. You're not good enough. But legit, thank you guys for tuning in, and we love you. I have so much love for you, and I want you to succeed in everything. I started doing the Bob's Burgers voice, but I love you. I want you to succeed in everything and like continue to flourish in all the areas of your life. So, good. Thanks for tuning into the Ivy League podcast. Play us out, Sam. No outro, dude. We're just cutting it. No outro. Goodbye. Deuces.
Dang.